So let's get started. So today I'm going to just talk about managing remote teams, and um, this would be the agenda for today. So I'm going to give a short introduction about the various remote work models, and then we can move on to few management essentials. So the whole talk will be focused on managing remotely. So remotely is the stress here. I'm sure, like if there are managers here, I know like there are plenty of other um, uh, resources in terms of management, but remote management is something that's especially new in terms of like especially after this pandemic, right? So yeah, these are few things that I would touch upon. Building remote teams, which means it's about hiring remotely and remote onboarding, and how important is asynchronous communication and non-linear workday is something that fascinates me, and that's something that I follow often as well. So I'll talk about that a little bit. And yeah, of course, how to embrace a diverse culture and as well as maintain a unified value system. So that is something that's close to my heart as well. And yeah, I have just a few demographics related to remote working and few other resources. So let's get started. Good. So there are different types of remote work model, and yeah, as you can see, here, I've listed at least 10 different ones, which has just slight differences. The first one, let's go over this very quickly. First one is no remote, which is like very straightforward, like the usual traditional way of mm, working and going into an office and coming back, the 9 to 5 job. So remote tolerated is where the approved employees they some days work they can work from home some days, and it is available only for few employees. Remote exceptions is where majority of the company works in the office, while some employees may work remotely indefinitely, maybe due to their role or the location. Remote allowed is where remote work is allowed for anyone in the company, but still the primary workplace would be the office. The leadership still works out of office, and the physical office is central. Hybrid remote is where some employees or all the employees are allowed to work remotely 100% of the time. Um yeah, remote days is when the entire okay, yeah, remote days is when the entire company, like including the executives, they work remotely on specific days, say remote Fridays and so on. And remote first is where these offices are simply venues to work remotely, and they are not epicenters. So the entire culture of the company itself would be centered on remote working. So the documentation, policies, workflows, everything is centered around remote working. So that's what remote first is all about. Um, yeah, and 100% of the organization is remote, even if some continue to occasionally visit a company owned office, right? Remote only is very similar to being all remote. All remote is the next model that I'm going to talk about. So with one major distinction, like most people are located in the same geographical region. So that might be overlap. So that's what is remote only all about. And all remote describes organizations that do not maintain offices and work globally across different time zones. And yeah, GitLab is a good example of it as well, where we have team members across 65 countries. And strictly remote, yeah, this is at least I've not come across a company which is strictly remote. So by strictly remote, what we mean is that mm, there are definitely no in-person meetings, never permit synchronous meetings, and everything happens in a remote way. So these are the different work models, and I don't want to go in detail about what works best and the pros and cons of each of this. That's not the topic for today. So just wanted to keep you informed uh, about these different things. So let's move on to the management essentials. So yeah, transparency is one of the main things when you manage remotely, especially the team members. They need to be aware of what's going on in the company, in the team, and the workflows. Everything should be very transparent. Anyone should have access to most of the information that related to the company. So transparency is one thing that actually helps the team members feel connected, and that's one of the essential things in remote management. Create handbook goals and documentation. So yeah, this is a very I mean, it's an equally important thing as well, especially in a remote setting wherein yeah, not every team member might be online or working. Their working hours might be totally different, and so how do they get access to the same level of information that's happening maybe in a company wide meeting? How do they get access to all of the information that's available? So that's where these handbooks and shared goals, all of that should be documented. Maybe you could use your company handbooks, or you could just use wikis or other documentations which you can make use of. And yeah, shared goals. In GitLab, we use OKRs to share the goals across the company. So anyone from any team at any level has access to all of the OKRs that's going on in different teams. So I think having that level of transparency and also having them all documented is very essential. Operate asynchronously, and yeah, this is a very important thing as well, especially when we talk about multiple time zones, right? This is one of the biggest challenges that come in, like how do I actually keep the communication going when I work across time zones? So that's where even documentation comes in handy. And the culture of the company should be in such a way that you don't expect someone in another time zone who's outside of their working hours to be working outside of their working hours, right? So asynchronous communication. So don't one of the things that we follow is like that. Don't expect an reply immediately. Say a manager is sending maybe if they need an information and they send a message to the team member on a Friday, just they can choose not to just answer. In fact, that manager should not expect an answer immediately, and maybe they can expect it on whenever they are online, maybe on Monday and so on. And also on those lines, we can make use of the tools that are available as well, right? Say, for example, like in Slack, you can schedule messages wherein if I want to just send a message to someone in their working hour, like I could just schedule a message and it would get delivered to them when their working hour starts. And this way I don't miss the context as well, and the information keeps flowing too. Good. And yeah, break down silos. So yeah, working on silos does not work very well in a remote setting, and we should ensure that uh, every work that each team member is doing is actually made visible, and it's actually known to other team members, and we facilitate this as well in during the team meetings, and through maybe demo sessions, and also the shared goals. All of that comes in handy here. Prioritize results over hours. Yes. So this is a very important thing as well, which is something I really value. So it's not about the number of hours that a team member spends at the laptop. It's more about what the person brings to the table and accomplishes. So I think this is one of the main things, and I think this applies not just in the remote setting alone, even otherwise. Good. And don't require people to have consistent set working hours or say when they are working. What I mean by this goes very much in line with the non-linear workday that I'm going to talk about. So I can actually, so gone are the days where I work from 9 to 5. So I think I can actually I have the liberty to split my working hours. Maybe I can just work 4 hours in the morning, and maybe yeah, I can split my day, like maybe depending on my work schedule, and then the rest of the 4 hours I can spend in the evenings. That's the biggest part of working remotely as well, right? And that's the same expectation we should be having from the team members as well, so that mm, they can actually plan their day, their work according to their day. And if it's just well communicated, I think that should be good enough. Yeah, so what I mean by don't require people to have consistent set working hours or say when they are working. So it's not necessary that they need to get a permission or anything per se. It's just enough if the team members are informed about it. So that's good. And don't encourage long working hours or working on weekends. Yes, this actually proves to be counterproductive. This definitely is not productive at all, and this needs, and the managers should be really cautious too. They should consciously uh, let the team members know and ask them to log off if you see them working for longer hours. That actually is the most productive thing in the long run. It prevents burnout, and it really helps the team's morale as well. And yeah, make use of the apps that are available. As I mentioned, an example from Slack and the Google Suite, and yeah, we have plenty of other options as well, and Zoom and various other tools which you can use for asynchronous communication, asynchronous planning, and so on. So that's one thing that we can make use of. Minimize meetings, or I would say just remove meetings that are not necessary at all, or if there are meetings that just talks about, say, status updates, and which can be done asynchronously, just move it to an asynchronous way of catching up. And yeah, and as managers, I think one-on-ones are really really important. Especially it makes it even more important in during in a remote setting. So that's one time where you actually have a face-to-face chat with the team members, and I think that's something that needs to be really prioritized. And yeah, promote inclusion. So there are multiple ways in which we could be more inclusive about the team members. Geo inclusivity is one of the things wherein we are really careful about the timing of the meetings itself. Like there could be, like, say, team meetings or department wide meetings that needs to happen, but then how do I accommodate all the team members from different time zones into this meeting? So one suggestion, no, or one thing that had been working very well for us is to split the meetings. Like we have three different meetings, or right now it's two different meetings at two different time zones, and the same meeting happens twice basically, just the set of people differ, and the agenda is the same, everything is documented, all the discussions are documented, the meetings are recorded, so you actually understand what had been happening in the previous meeting, and it's actually a continuation of that. So this way we could try to be more inclusive when we plan and schedule meetings as well. Good. And yeah, this is about hiring remotely. So again, here transparency is one of the main things. Communicate transparently to candidates about the hiring process and what to expect and everything that needs to be that would be happening. And hire for values fit instead of culture fit. Yes, this is something that is close to my heart as well. So we definitely, in terms when we talk about being, um, when we talk about diversity, when we talk about belonging and inclusion, I think this goes very well with all of those values. So yeah, is the person aligning very well with the value system that is defined for the company? So that's the main question to ask. It's not like I mean, of course, when they are from a different, like region, the culture might differ, the communication styles might differ. So being aware of all of that and accommodating and understanding, so all of that plays in when we talk about this. Look for qualities that make a strong remote employee. Good. So there are ca- few main things which I look for when I hire a team member. Which I look for in candidates, and one of the main things is, are there examples of good collaboration, communication? Are they vocal about? So when I talk about communication, it's not about the language. Of course, English should be like a common factor, but then it's not how well are they able to articulate their thoughts. So that's about communication and also collaboration, and are they able to collaborate well remotely? So that's one thing to look for. And another thing is being managers of one. So managers of one is something that is close to my heart as well, and I mean, that's something that I look for in the team members as well. So what this actually means is that you need not have another person to tell you what you need to do. You are self motivated and you are the manager of yourself, and that's what this manager of one actually means. So these are few qualities that you could look for when you actually hire. And of course, yeah, video calls. can be those are the things that we use to engage with candidates. So that goes without saying. Yes, remote onboarding. So onboarding is actually it's very important, especially in a remote setting, mainly because it's yeah, we know like what it feels like when we join a new company, and even more like when you know that you're joining a new company from your house, from your workspace, from your room, and yeah, how does it even work? So that's where we need to be really really careful about how we handle onboarding, and how to make the team member, the new hire, how to make them feel more connected to the team, and how to involve them, and build the build that sense of belonging. So those are few things that we should intentionally work towards when we onboard new team members. And yeah, work logistics and expectations about their workspace, setting up the workspace, and getting the laptop and everything, and identify concerns and answer questions. Yeah, I think this applies for any setup. Add more excitement. Yeah, maybe we could just have some virtual icebreaker sessions, and have them more involved in the team. And so these are few things that we could think through as well. Schedule check-ins with the new employees, like maybe on their first day, and maybe multiple times during the first week, really helps. And also having an onboarding buddy whom they could actually go to anytime they get stuck on any of their onboarding tasks. So that's really really helpful, and I think these are few tips when we talk about remote onboarding. Good. And asynchronous communication, I think we spoke about this already. So asynchronous communication is very, very important. And when we talk about this, even documentation and having all the information in the handbook, again, goes in handy as well. This mainly because, like, yeah, good communication it enables team members to feel really connected. And I think that is the main thing that we are trying to build here as well. Yeah, you could go for no meeting Fridays, and we also encourage asynchronous weeks, wherein all the meetings during that week is going to be asynchronous. So this had been really helpful when we do this, especially when you want to have some focus time on specific tasks, and these are really handy things that you can practice as well. Yes, so say no to unnecessary meetings. Use tools to promote async communication. Yeah, so yeah, in Slack we have a lot of Slack bots, right? Like which helps in asynchronous stand-ups and whatnot. So we can make use of all of those tools and leverage all of those to enable asynchronous communication. So good. So yeah, this is one of the interesting things that I really love to talk about. So non-linear work day. So yeah, you can move between work and non-work time in an asynchronous schedule. It's not like you log in at 9 a.m. in the morning, and then break out for lunch, and then come back again, and then log out in the evening. You need not have your day. In fact, what I would say is that it's no more, the work timing does not define your day. Your day actually is now defining your work timing, right? So that's the kind of flexibility that remote working gives, and I think we should really be encouraging team members to do that, mainly because it really improves their productivity. So when they are at work, they are really at work. So this flexibility and giving them that autonomy, the team members really feel uh, fully present when they are at work as well. So yeah, these are few things that we should encourage. Yeah, and yeah, I think we spoke about these. Promotes a non-judgmental culture, so you don't expect the team members to be logged in during the daytime. Some might choose to work early in the mornings or late at night. So yeah, we should be accommodative of it as long as the results are there. I think that's all it matters towards the end of the day. So yeah, one example is schedule meetings around toddler nap time. So yeah, new moms could understand what this means. So yeah, these are few things which can be practiced and which could be promoted in the team as well. Diverse culture and unified values. So value system is really really important. Like having a set of values. I'm sure like every company, every organization, it has its own values defined, right? So having a solid value system is really important, which is something that I really love about GitLab as well. So define values so that everyone can adhere to it. And it's not that it's just in papers. It's at every level. It should be practiced, right, from the leaders and at every level, and the team members. And anyone should be able to hold each other accountable. And yeah, these are few things that we should work towards intentionally, because unless we are intentional about practicing these values, we would miss out on building the culture that we want to build. So practicing these and building the culture intentionally, it really matters a lot, especially in a remote setting. So yeah, so those are few things. um, and yeah, these are few demographics. So I'll be sharing the slide as well later on, so you could take a look at it. As you see here, like benefits of allowing remote environment is like increased productivity, increased efficiency. So overall, it has a lot of positive outcomes. So when we promote remote working um, efficiently. So yeah, these are few other things as well, like what organizations are doing well when they talk about remote work, and how do we ensure that there is a sense of community in remote setup. So these are few things that you could practice as well, like virtual coffee breaks and occasional team meetings in person and so on. Good. And yeah, these are few resources which I used for the talk as well. And you could just Google these terms like GitLab All Remote Certification, and there is a course on Coursera as well, so which you can make use of to get more details and go in depth on how to do it the right way. Yeah. Good. So that's pretty much it. And thank you. Any questions?
Thank you so much for presenting today. I really enjoyed your talk. We did have a couple questions pop up, and folks in the chat can also post their questions now. First question is, what questions or topics do you discuss with candidates to assess if this person matches the values you're looking for?
Sure. So if I should assess like if they are really collaborative, like then I ask them to define scenarios where they have worked together as a group and define their role in that scenario. And there could be other terms in terms of communicating widely to a wider audience. So there could we could ask for examples where they had to present specific ideas to a wider team or a wider audience, and how did they go about doing it. Maybe I mean, it need not always be a meeting per se. Maybe they have a, a well-written documentation, or they have a demo which was recorded and shared across with the team. So yeah, so these are few things that you can look for. It depends on the value that you are looking for, right? These are examples for collaboration and communication. um, yeah, these are the ones that I would actually look at.
Not. Great answer. Sorry. I can't tell if I was off mute. Constant battle with virtual platforms. Great answer. Another question that we had in the chat is, do you have any go-to interview questions that you use to help determine their value? I think it's in a very similar vein.
Yeah, to help determine their values. Yeah, that's a good question. Hmm. Yeah, basically, depending on the various answers that you get during the interview as well, right? Especially those which are based questions, you would get a sense of what they value the most. But yeah, you could be direct about it as well. So what they expect in a work setting, like how do they get what is their expectation. So these are few questions that you could work towards as well. So I think that's what comes to my mind when I think about this.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. We are at time for this particular session. Thank you, Ramya, so much for being here and giving this talk on the nuts and bolts of being a remote manager.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks.
Appreciate so much you sharing your experience with us.
Thank you. I really loved being here. Thank you so much.